Hey there, that was the wrong intro. Let's try this one.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Hey, that's better. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spiritual Street Talk. I'm Althea Jacob, and I am happy that you have taken the time to tune into our show. And whether you're joining us live tonight or whether you're tuning in sometime after this was recorded, I am just delighted you've taken the time to tune in. Because if you've tuned into my show and this show that we all share, it's because you are a light worker. You are somebody who wants to become the best possible version of yourself in the world. You want to make a positive difference and impact in the lives of others. You want to shine your light and share your love and develop and share your gifts with others. And you're in the total right place. So this podcast was designed to basically take spiritual concepts and bring them down to earth and apply them to worldly ways of doing things. And also looking at what's happening in the world around us and figuring out how can we look at that from a spiritual perspective, or how can our connections with spirit and our experiences with energy and with our different tools that we have help us to navigate the challenges in the day-to-day world in a better, easier way. Okay. Oh, and hello, we have some people already on. Hi, Joey. Hi, Amy. Good to see everybody. Thank you for tuning in. As usual, you guys, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to put it on the chat. Put it all in caps if it's a question, especially because it'll help it pop out so I can see it. The format of the show, for those of you who are new to joining our podcast, is I usually spend the first little bit talking about the week, what's been on my mind and heart. Then I will share some messages from Spirit. I've already chosen some angel cards and oracle cards and tarot cards to kind of go through with Spirit's input, messages for everybody. And the really funny thing that happens with these messages is it doesn't matter if you're listening to them live tonight, or whether you're tuning in tomorrow, next week, or next year. Whenever you tune in and hear the messages, there's probably going to be a little nugget in there for you. You're going to go like, oh, yeah, I really needed to hear that right now. And it's one of those like mysteries of life, right? It just happens that way. Those synchronicities and God winks that happen that make us be in the right place at the right time, to be interacting with the right people for exactly what we need or what we need and are able to share with others. So this week has been interesting. I live in Wisconsin, and it was snowy, like crazy snowy, the snowiest bit we've had in several years. And it's going to get bitter cold in the next few days. And this polar vortex thing is coming down. And they said, oh, expect it to be minus 20. I'm like, minus 20? I don't live in Alaska, for God's sakes. Minus 20, that's flipping cold. But I'm like, that's okay. All right. We were dealing with it. I got the snow tires on the car, and, I have geothermal heat. So thank goodness that all keeps the house nice and warm. But anyway, the snow is a bit much. And in the middle of all that, I was on my way to an appointment, and I pressed the button that opens my garage door. I park inside the house in the garage. And it got about a third of the way up, and then I hear this snap, crash, bang. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't good. And I press the button again, and the door goes up about this much. And I'm like, uh-oh. So apparently when it's really cold, it can affect the springs and the metal, and things just snap every now and again. So I was very blessed that it didn't snap when I was driving out under it, or when my dog or other friends were walking in and out under it, or me walking in and out under it. I'm also blessed that it didn't break and strand me on the outside of the house in all that snow, that I was able to, come on in. And then the other blessing that came with that is I was actually able to find a company that was willing to send a repairman up and out that same afternoon. And so a few hours after the incident, my garage door is working just fine again. And I was like, oh, wow. But it made me think about, what in the world, what could have been, obviously don't dwell on the bad stuff, but, do we focus on the blessings in our life? Do we focus on what's good? Hey, Virgil, welcome. Nice seeing you. So other things beside the snow, this has been an interesting week. I've had, as some of you know, from week to week, I've had certain health challenges, and some parts have come to a scary point, and I'm on some medication to help with it, and it seems like it's helping, so I'm optimistic. But as I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, I found out that a dear friend of mine's brother and another friend's husband. So the three of there's only the one man, but I knew him in two different capacities as the brother of my good friend and the husband of another friend of mine. And he died. And he had gone into the hospital for surgery. Thank you, Virgil. He had gone in for back surgery, had been in a lot of pain, and it turned out that when they had opened him up, they found out they had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And this was 2 weeks ago. And it was less than, 2 days after they brought him home from a hospital to kind of have a home hospice situation that he passed. It was just like boom, boom, boom. Like, so you can imagine, here it is, the Christmas season, and, people are talking about decorating and Christmas cookies and shopping and getting together. And this poor family is just thrown into terrible grief, and the niece and nephew of this man. I know the brother and the sister and brother-in-law of this man. I know the widow now, and was like, wow, I'm not going to be sitting and complaining about my challenges when somebody that I love and care about is going through some tremendous loss, right? So I think it really made me put things into perspective a little bit more, because as you go around, there's always somebody in your life that has it better than you, and there's always somebody that has it worse than you. And it's so important as we move forward to focus on our gifts and blessings and the things that we can be grateful for. And even if the challenges feel overwhelming at times, I'll tell you, one of the biggest blessings that came to me from having the challenges I'm having is seeing how certain friends of mine have really stepped up to help me with some physical things that I needed help with. One man from church came and helped shovel my walkway, my front door, my stairs, even a path for my dog to be able to go out to go potty. And he plowed out in front of my garage and my driveway so I could get out. And it's that was such a blessing to me because I really couldn't handle it myself right now. And another friend came over to help me organize some stuff, that just the physical act of picking it up, moving it, carrying it, it was just at this point in this juncture, it's just a little much. And I was going to not make Christmas cookies this year, which I love to do, because one of the issues I'm having is some nerve stuff happening with my hands and my arms and my fingers, which are making it very difficult for me to do fine motor control stuff. And so I'm like, oh, I won't be able to make cookies this year. And I was talking to the friend, and she's like, well, I'll come over and help you make the dough, and I'll come over and we can bake them. And then other friends are going to get together a few days after that, and we'll do a big cookie swap and just, enjoy the holiday. But I thought I was going to have to give up on a tradition that I loved. And somebody was like, hey, I'll help. And so I'm not somebody who typically asks for help or hasn't in the past. I'm the one who always normally would be providing the help and volunteering to help. And so I don't know if that's part of the reason that I'm having some of the challenges. Besides, we all need to be humbled every now and again. But I have Virgil's offered to come and cook for me, except he said he's a rubbish cook. Well, that's okay. Beggars can't be choosers, right? Help is help. And any food that somebody else cooks for us is delicious as far as I'm concerned. So, one of the other things that happened. Oh, so this whole challenge that I had turned out to be a blessing in that people are showing up in my life in ways that are really surprising me and really lifting my spirits and showing me like, oh, okay, it's okay. And it's okay to ask for help if you need it. Right. And I know as a life coach, I've given that advice to buku people over the years. Right. But I'm also somebody that's always been the strong one, the resourceful one, on top of everything, type A, get it done, and then some, be there for others. And so it's really foreign territory for me to be asking for help for me. And so this has forced me to ask in some cases, but more importantly, it's delighted me how some people have just offered. And so that's Joey's offering to make me peanut butter and jelly. Thanks, Joey. Even that's good when somebody else makes it. uh, so a couple other things that happened. I had a really strong revelation from Spirit when I was in church. And one of the things this past Sunday, and one of the things, now I'm a Christian, and if you're not a Christian, it's okay. Obviously, we're all brothers and sisters on this planet. We're all trying to make sense of this whole existence. We have finite minds trying to understand the infinite. I don't think any one religion has it totally right. I think we all find whatever ways work for us and the best groups that work for us and the doctrines or philosophies that work best for us to organize ourselves, to commune with others, and to become the best possible version we can. So that out of the way. So I have been a Christian most of my life. And so when I'm sitting there in church, I hear the voice of Spirit saying, there's really 4 categories of ways that people can participate in their churches, in the ways that they worship. You can be a member, right? You show up. I carry the card. So that's kind of cool, right? Being a member, that's good. You have that fellowship, you show up, you go and you do whatever. For Christians, the next one is, yep, I'm a Christian, right? So I'm not just a member, I'm a Christian. What does that mean? Well, I read the scriptures and I try to take to heart the teachings of Jesus Christ. And I try my best to be a good person in the world, right? So that's the next level. Okay, that's cool. And then we have the designation of saint. And what's a saint? A saint is somebody who has a special relationship with Spirit, but they go out of their way to bless the lives of others, right? They are people that take very seriously that role. They're not just a member. They are more than just a Christian, right? They take it to that next level and say, I'm trying to become the best possible version of Christian I can be and live a life of service according to that, right? So that's the saints. So it's like, okay, they're saints. And then what do we have after that? We have the angels on earth. And who are they? Those are the people who somehow God or the Holy Spirit or whatever forces out there prompts them, and they show up without being asked. They're in the right place at the right time, ready to do whatever that person needs, sometimes even before that person knows they need it. Case in point, I was sharing about the gentleman from church who came over to shovel and plow. I'm still in bed on Sunday morning, and I hear the shovel outside, and I hear him running my plow and taking care of stuff. And when I talked to him later, he said he was up at 4 a.m. because he not only takes care of my property, he takes care of his own and a couple other elderly neighbors. And I thought, I didn't ask him. I didn't assume he'd do it. I was hoping he would get around to me eventually. But he's like, well, I knew you wanted to go to church, so I got here early enough. And to me, he was the angel doing the thing that I didn't even really know I needed. And I was so grateful. Oh, thank you. Virgil is saying people like me are like the angels because we're super empaths and we care about others and we're compassionate. And that's the point of this, the 4 things: a member, a Christian, a saint, or an angel, being angels on earth. It's like, be the angel in disguise. Make it your point to be the instrument that God uses to bless other people and help them, even sometimes before they know they need that help. And so that was really profound, because especially during this season, wintertime is hard for a lot of people here in this hemisphere because it's so dark, right? Where it's dark when we get up and go to work. It's dark when we get out of work. It can sometimes wear down on people emotionally. I think they call it SAD, right? Seasonal affective disorder, right? Because they miss that sunshine that is just because there's fewer sunshine hours during the day because of sunrise and sunset times. So during this season where we have so many celebrations of light, we have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, we have Ramadan, we have Kwanzaa, right? We have lots of, and there's pagan festivals of light as well during this time. In the darkest of the winter, we have these celebrations of light. And what Spirit was telling me to share with everybody and kind of make this point and challenge us to be the light in the darkness, shine our light, share our love and our gifts with everybody, right? Figure out how can we bring more light and happiness into people's lives. So that's what's been going on in my mind a lot. And then one other thing that happened that was really very cool. And I been a miner. People know I mined Herkimer crystals for a while. Virgil, I grew up Catholic. Yeah, we can talk some other time all about the wonderful parts about being Catholic. So this gentleman had taken a Zoom class that I attended with some other people. And he said, hey, anybody who wants some, I've gotten some tiger iron. And I know what tiger's eye is, but he said, no, tiger's iron. This is a stone that is a combination of tiger's eye, red jasper, and hematite. And so I wanted to show you. So he offered to mail me a piece of this stuff. And I was like, way cool. Thank you so much. Because it's one I've never heard of before. Not only that, he sends me this whole write-up about it. Right. And so it says, and the reason I'm sharing this is because if you can find some of this stuff around, guys, it's a cool, I want to say kick-ass. Can I say kick-ass? Maybe I can. Kick-ass stone. So it's good for it. Okay. So tiger iron, I'm going to read what he wrote, is often described as a master grounding stone and a powerhouse of strength, vitality, and energetic resiliency. Because it carries the combined energies of tiger's eye, red jasper, and hematite, it acts like a tri-layer support system for body, mind, and spirit. And then he went into more information. Well, here again is this wonderful random act of kindness of this man I don't really know, other than he participated in the same Zoom class that I took a couple weeks ago. And, we just kind of connected a tiny bit. But he felt inspired. I did like a mini reading for him and shared some information. Well, he wanted to do something loving back in return. And he sent me this really cool stone. And so I was like, oh, wow. And when I read more about it, I'm like, I need this right now. And matter of fact, I don't know anybody who doesn't need this right now. It's one of those stones that's like, yep. We can all need a little bit more of grounding and strength and vitality and energetic resilience. Because I don't know about y'all, this is also a time that, boy, is it overwhelming with the things on the to-do list and whatnot. And one of the last things I'll share before I get into the reading of the messages for today was one of the things my doctor said to me. One of the reasons he actually thinks what's at the root of my problem is the shingles virus was coming back and starting to try to flare up, and it was attacking the nerves and my nervous system in my hands and arms. And that's why I was having so much pain and dysfunction and whatnot. And so I'm on some medication for that. But he said, what causes the shingles virus to rear its head? You had chickenpox as a kid, you had shingles 5 years ago. He said, stress. When you're under a lot of stress. And he said, are you feeling stressful? And of course, I just stressed out. And I'm like, oh my God, and I just started laughing. He said, well, I'll take that as a yes. And I'm like, but you know what? other than the financial stress that I'm under because my ex-husband did not uphold his end of an agreement, and I wound up having to pay a lot more money in taxes because he was supposed to pay his half and never did. So I got stuck with paying a lot more than I needed or wanted to. However, so there was some physical, financial stress. Um, there's emotional stress because this is a time of year that it's filled with so many traditions for me and my family. And, when you're divorced, it's like, wait a minute, you're so disconnected. Even I was so close to my husband's family because most of my own family has passed, that I made these great connections, and now it's kind of weird and awkward. And it's like, we're still connected, but not to the point of like spending Christmas together or the holidays together. And then my dog Flash, as y'all know, he's having some challenges, and he's older. And I know it's going to be soon. It's not imminent, but it's going to be soon where I'm going to have to say goodbye. So these things are happening. Plus all the normal, like, okay, do I put up Christmas lights? Do I decorate? Do I send out cards? Do I make the cookies? Meanwhile, trying to do all this, so my hands aren't working very well. And so I'm like, yeah, okay. I have books that I'm writing that I'm in mid, one's 90% done. I'm like, I got to get this book finished. And there's other outlines for other books that spirit want to come through. I'm like, dude, I could do talk to type, but it's not the same thing as when it's coming through our hands or coming through our whole body and energy field. So there's been, all these challenges. So I said, yep, I'm stressed. This is true. And he said, okay, so now step back and ask yourself, how much of what you're doing can you say, I don't need to do? Can you make a decision that it's okay if you don't do the normal 100% rock star, get it all done, hostess with the mostest for the holidays? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I don't have to do all these things. I have a choice where I can balance out and pick and choose the things that really bring me the most joy and focus on those, and, do the things I have to do, right? You got to pay your bills and you got to balance your checkbook. And, in that case, I have to take care of my doggy. You can't just blow him off and say, sorry, I don't feed you for, no, got to take care of what you got to take care of. So it was a really important lesson for me, and a reminder that even as much as I meditate and pray and I'm connected to spirit, there's, when bad things happen to good people, they always ask, oh, why me? Why did this happen? And, I'm a good person. Why am I getting punished? Or why am I having all this trouble? And you know what? Yeah, it's confusing. But on the same time, we got to shift our focus and say, but look at all the blessings that are in your life. Look at all the things that you have to be grateful for. Yeah, you got a bag full of challenges in one hand, but guess what? You got a bag full of blessings in the other. You have people who love you, who care about you, who are willing and wanting to help you. You have resources that you can tap into if you need to, and people that you can ask for help. So embrace the totality of your life, right? We don't just get the bag full of challenges and no way to deal with them. Spirit's not that cruel, right? We also don't wind up with a ton of blessings and say, wow, my life is so amazing, and never have any dark moments, because then we wouldn't develop that compassion and that resiliency. And most of the times, the hardest moments and the lessons that we've had in our life were meant to make us stronger and better able to serve and help others and fulfill the purpose of our soul and whatever our soul's mission was in this lifetime. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed right now, I would invite you to ask yourself, what things can I say, maybe I don't really need to do them as much or that fully or even at all. Maybe I can delegate them. Maybe I can ask for help if it's important to me and I just don't have the energy or the way to do them. And really take care of yourself to feel in balance so that you can be in that sense of flow instead of being in that overwhelm where you feel like you're, running Mach 5 with your hair on fire and going, just that craziness that can sometimes happen. And yes, Virgil, you can ask a question, of course. If anybody has questions, just put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer those. Okay, while you're putting your question in there, I want to go through the messages that came from Spirit. And so I always pray a little bit first. And I thought I might share the prayer that I always ask Spirit, because I think it's important when we do any work, any spiritual work, that we set the right energy around us. So I always say this prayer: I call out to those who guide and love me from above for guidance, protection, and connection. I ask that the energies around me and us be of the highest vibration and light. And I ask that the messages that come through be clear, specific, and as meaningful as possible to the people that are going to hear them or see them. I give thanks for Spirit's presence and for this opportunity to be of service tonight. And then I shuffle the cards and I pull the cards out that I'm going to read as the messages from Spirit for everybody. So the cards that I got tonight, the first one I flipped over, I started laughing because it says wedding. I'm like, yeah, right, that's wedding. But it's not what I thought it was. So it talks about here, marriage is the union of two souls joined in love, mutual respect, and commitment. However, it also signifies a desire to deepen love over time. A wedding is a testament to well-founded faith in love's power. Continually breathe life into that faith and love. So regardless of your status, as far as in a relationship or not, or married or not, or divorced or not, or widowed or not, or whatever, right? Hold that knowledge and belief and faith in love in your heart. Keep that always with you and open to exchange love with whoever comes in on your path. And even if you've been hurt, it's even more important for you to have that open heart and believe in love. You know, this time of year, the Christmas specials are on, and the Grinch was on the other day. And and what happened to the Grinch that changed his action after he heard them singing? His heart, what they say, grew, was it 10 times the size, or grew and grew and grew, or 5 times the size of what it was. And all of a sudden he felt his heart expand. And this man that was this curmudgeonly, well, he wasn't a man, was he? Well, sort of, this beast that was this man beast of the Grinch, who was so anti-social and mean-spirited and curmudgeonly, all of a sudden felt this desire to want to be with others, to give to others, to interact and have friendships and relationships and meaningful interactions with others. And so no matter where you are on the spectrum of your life of feeling totally loved or feeling totally alone, one thing you can do is still believe in and cultivate the power and feeling of love in your heart. That's what that card means to me. And that's what came up to share. The next card is Archangel Raphael. And this angel card says, Archangel Raphael brings health, healing, and abundance into your life. He'll help to develop intuition and inner vision. Call on him if you would like help in any of those areas now. So, and it goes on. But again, this is a time of year that we all could benefit from a little healing, a little help, and being there for other people, right? I know the quickest way to get out of a depression is go work in a soup kitchen or a food bank. Go be of service to help others who have less than you have. And see the gratitude and joy that creates in them as well as in you. And it's one of the quickest ways to get out of a funk if you're feeling sorry for yourself. And trust me, you know, self-pity is not new to me. It's not new to many people, right? When you go through hard times, it's very natural to go, oh, this sucks. You know, why me? Right? That's natural, guys. We're not perfect. You know, we're here to go through the iterations and learn and figure things out. But the sooner we can kind of get out of our own way and realize, wait a minute, there's still so many blessings. There's still, yeah, I know it can get better, but I'm glad it's not worse. And we're going to keep going. We're going to do the best to be our best. And if that's our little mantra, and part of that is to be of service to others, I'm telling you, you will always have the support you need. Okay. The last of the oracle cards was the card of changes. And this says, welcome new situations and allow yourself to transform. Don't resist. These changes are guided from above, and enter the chaos by finding the center of the storm. So I love that last line of that card, because that's also what it feels like a lot of times, especially here in the US. Boy, oh boy, there's contention. It feels stormy. It feels crazy. It feels like, oh my goodness, what is going on, right? On political levels, on social levels, on you name it, right? It's very challenging times. Well, how do you navigate challenging times? You get to the center. And what happens at the center? That's where it's calm, right? So if you can keep yourself calm and peaceful and positive and filled with gratitude and resiliency, you're going to get through. All right. The next three cards I chose, the tarot cards, again, kind of made me laugh a little bit. Past, present, future for kind of what's going on right now. So the first card that came up was the Emperor reversed. The Emperor to me is one of those authority figure cards. And when he's reversed, it's saying, you don't want somebody to be the boss of you. You don't want somebody being the authority over you. And that's kind of true in my case, right? And it's probably true in a lot of our cases. We don't like other people telling us what to do. We want spirit to inspire us and prompt us, but we still want the free will and choice and agency to make our own mind up and do what we feel is best overall. The card of what's happening right now is the Wheel of Fortune. And when that's upside down, it says things are happening, both good and bad, are coming in, it seems like from out of the blue. The blessings come from out of the blue. The challenges come from out of the blue. Nothing is predictable. When you're going through such okay, what was the word I was looking for? Turbulent times, or tumultuous. Okay, yeah, so those are the two combined. So if you're going through these crazy times, one of the things to do is understand you can't control what's happening around you or even to you. The only thing you can control is your response to it, your actions. What are you going to do because of that? And then the last card I like a lot. This is the Four of Cups. And because it's upside down, it's a better card, because when it's right side up, it's somebody who's kind of sitting there, kind of daydreaming, missing these blessings that spirit is trying to hand them, and they're oblivious to it. When it's upside down, it says, hey, we are all paying attention. We are looking for those blessings and opportunities. We are ready to seize them, to go in those directions we're prompted, to better ourselves, to better our lives, to be of better service to others. We're willing to go where spirit is trying to lead us. All right. And then the last thing is I chose, I just cracked open the book like a fortune cookie. And the book is my book, A Portal to Potential, which is available on Amazon. And this is a bunch of channeled writings that came to me over time. And I cracked it open to one of the writings titled The Way. Show me the way, your spirit calls out. To whom are you calling and why? Have you forgotten the truth of who you are? Awaken, remember, and choose to forget no more. You are a child of destiny, a spirit of the light. You are a soul on your journey of exploration and expansion, returning to self and enhancing your being by the process of who you are and how you have lived and loved, and by what you have learned along the way. All righty. So those are the thoughts. Those are the messages. I hope you got something out of that. So let's turn to the chat now and see what questions we have from those of you on. All right. So Virgil says, let's see, Virgil, let's show your question here. I spoke to the priest, Father Battersby, about what I watch. He said, belief in spirits is anti-Christian. Any thoughts? I guess I would have to ask him what spirits he's talking about, because it's a Christian. We believe in the Holy Spirit, who is like Okay. So that's an aspect of God, part of the Trinity if you're raised Catholic, one of three persons if you're raised in some of the Church of Jesus Christ, the Latter-day Saints, for example. Um, Spirit can be our loved one in spirit who have passed on. I believe, because I have the Christian background, I believe the Holy Spirit parts the veil so that messages can come through, and I can give comfort and information as a medium to people who need it. I think if you're talking about spirits like elemental spirits, like fairies and gnomes and elves and some of the sprites and more the nature spirits, I don't think that that's anti-Christian or evil either. I think it's just not really talked about too much. I think you have to understand the history of Christianity and what was here beforehand. And so paganism was much more abundant, where people were in tune with nature and the elements and that sort of connection. And in some ways, they would give power to the spirits or deify some of the spirits. And in some of the mythologies, you'll see that how, like the god of thunder, right? They didn't understand how nature happened. Well, then they have that's Thor, right? Or you have Zeus for the lightning, and you have different gods in different cultures that were deified because they didn't quite understand it. So I think a lot of things in nature were attributed to either gods or spirits or other things. And then when Christianity came along, what they did is they said, well, we don't want people um, honoring or praising or deifying these other spirits. We want you focused on God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So at least a Catholic Christian upbringing, those are the big three. And they don't want you thinking about the rest. But they don't mind if you pray to the saints, right? And the mystics. And it's like, wait, you're not deifying them necessarily, but you're praying to them. So I'm like, there's a little hypocrisy there. We have our own. And most of our Christian uh, celebrations and holidays and feast days and festivals happen to coincide with a lot of the same time frames of the old pagan rituals. And one of the reasons they did that is they didn't want to alienate the pagans. They're like, oh, you're having a party for lighting the lights during this time of the year. Okay, yeah, sure. We're going to have a festival of lights too. This will be a time that we do Advent and we light candles and we do this kind of thing. So they kind of took some of the concepts, but you can even look at some of the symbology of Christianity, like the fish and even like the cross, and you can go back to way BC, like 10,000 years before Jesus, and in the tombs of some pyramids and ancient tombs around the world, and in some of the ruins, they see those same Christian symbols of the cross and the fish inscribed in those places, but meaning totally different things. So they took some of the same symbols that were used by these other cultures and used it. So to me, I think one of the most important things is, so I shared the prayer, that we set the intention that we want our work to always be of the highest vibration and light, that we only welcome in those of the light who are of a higher vibration, that have more wisdom than us, that are wiser than us, that can help guide us and steer us in the right direction. Just like if you were walking down the street and you were a little bit lost, do you go ask the drunk in the corner, or do you look for the traffic cop, to ask for help? You might have an adventure if you go ask the drunk in the corner for how to get where you're going, but it's probably not the smartest path, right? Much smarter to go ask the traffic cop for help with directions if you need it. So Yeah. So, okay, good. So that answered your question, Virgil. I'm glad. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is I will share one other thing. When I started, I taught a 8-week long class, and I'm actually thinking of turning this into a Zoom class and offering it on the Bigfoot network. Anyway, I was teaching a class called, sorry, one of someone was asking a question on the chat and it kind of got my attention. We'll get to you in a minute there, Sean. So one of the things I taught was a 8-week course called Metaphysics Made Easy, and each week we would do a deep dive on a different topic of developing your intuition or using a different tool. Like one time we talked about, how to use a pendulum and why to use a tool like this, right? And other times we talk about reading auras or communicating with spirit or automatic writing or channeling, whatever. And so I got a lot of people very upset, fundamentalist Christians saying, oh, you're Satan's handmaiden. That's all evil. That's negative. I'm like, wait, time out. Wait, you don't know me. I'm a Catholic. I'm a Christian. I'm a God-fearing woman. I go to church every Sunday. I sing in the choir. I sing in the folk group. I love my neighbor. I try to help people all the time. I said, how dare you? You haven't even come to my course. What is wrong with meditation and teaching people to use their intuition? It's one of our human rights anyway, and abilities. So very, very confusing time. So I went to my uncle, actually he's my great uncle, who was a priest. He was my father's uncle, and Father Richard was a Capuchin priest. And I went to him and I said, is it possible that I'm confused and I'm really doing evil work by, opening up this way? And he said, let me ask you a few questions. He says, well, do you pray before you start? Yeah, absolutely. The communications you get, do they give comfort to people? Does it help? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And do you take the glory and credit to yourself, or do you give the glory and credit to God? Oh, definitely to God. I can't part the veil myself. That's because the Holy Spirit's opening it up so I can peek and get the messages and hear the communications from others. I've done my part to hone my craft to be a good vessel for the messages, but it's not of me. It's through me. It's not of me, right? It's not me doing it. It's coming through me and me allowing it. I do my part to allow the messages to come and to be in the right place at the right time and be willing to share those messages with others. So he said, honey, do not worry. He said, you're doing good things. You're helping others. You're giving God the glory. You're making sure you're safe. And one of the things that he said to me was, what makes you think that God stopped talking to people 2,000 years ago? He says, God didn't stop talking to people through spirit, through the voices and promptings of the Holy Spirit, or through the messages that come through the angels and the saints and the spirits on the other side. He said, most people just stopped listening. He said, the fact that you make the time to listen and you act on the messages you get and you help people by doing that, he said, that's a beautiful, good thing. It's not against anything. You agree there, Flash? Huh? You agree? Yeah? Okay, thanks for chiming in. My dog agrees, apparently. So, okay. So I have another question here that somebody's popped up. Let's see what you have to say here. Jesus told me, just worry about loving unconditionally. There aren't rules to that. His love is freedom. Rules are for religion. Jesus is about love. Yeah. I would absolutely agree with that. I think that many of the things that were done in the name of Jesus would really upset Jesus. And when we get to meet him and merge with that energy and understand much more what he was trying to do as the way, the elder brother, the way shower, the inspiration of what's possible, he's going to go like, oh yeah, boy, there's some groups that just miss the boat because they got mixed up in the power, the doctrine, the bureaucracy of it, and they forgot about the simplicity. Jesus ministered to the one-on-one, right? He saw people despite whatever their faults or failings were. He forgave, he loved, and he inspired people to be the best version of themselves they could be, right? Sound familiar? I don't know. Was that Jesus coming through? But that's one of those things that, especially this time of year, we should be inspired. Instead of looking for the differences, we should embrace the similarities. What do we all want? What do families around the world want for each other, for their families? They want a safe home to sleep in, food to eat, education, an opportunity to be productive, to share their gifts with others, and to live a safe life in health and with those that they love, and have some meaning at the end of the day so they can leave a legacy for a life well lived, right? I've traveled to 30 countries around the world, and most of the states are the 50 states. And I can't tell you of any person I met that when you broke down of what they said they wanted in their life or for them and their family, it wasn't some variation of that. And when you look at what Jesus had said, and by the way, his message of love is not a lot different than Buddha's message. Or, there's, when you look at even a lot, I'm trying to think back, even a lot of the mythology, of different religions that have been there over time. Well, at this focus of it is this oneness, a vibration of love, of positivity, leave things better than you found it, help others, be of service, shine your light, share your love. I mean, these are common themes that have been around forever, right? It's, you go back to the ancient cave paintings and it's like, shine your light, they're there, right? The people that shine their light is important. Okay. And then Virgil, and there's a comment here. When my girl took her life last year, I went to see Father Batsby, and he was incredibly kind and helped me so much. First, I'm really sorry to hear about your girl taking her life. What I do know about suicide from a spiritual point of view is that those souls have reached a choice point where they do not believe that they could continue on this side of the veil as effectively as they could on the other side. They either faced such challenges or hardships, or they felt overwhelmed by it, and they said, you know what, I would rather be in the spirit realm where I know I can do other kind of work, to kind of take a rest from this hard challenge of the physical world and existence, and possibly come back again another time, right? If there's a reincarnation kind of aspect to it. I do know some religions will say, oh, well, if you commit suicide, you're doomed, you can't go to heaven. I'm like, that's BS. I'm sorry. That's doctrine that I don't know why they say that, so people, to encourage people not to kill themselves, because almost every religion says, oh, on the afterlife, you'll have a version of heaven and be with your family and friends. Unless, it's like, no, if some poor soul is mentally, emotionally, physically in so much pain that they would rather be on the spiritual world instead of on this physical plane, they are welcomed equally by those in the light, their loved ones, their family members, their guides and teachers and aspects that come to them to help them make sense of what they experienced on this earth plane, and help them heal and become strong and figure out, okay, how can I serve in the spirit realm, and do I want to do anything in physical form anymore? And I get that direct from spirit, right? And again, I understand why in many of the world's religions, they say it's a no-no, because if things got too hard, and people had this, a better vision of the afterlife and less fear about death and dying, and knowing that, you're not going to be judged when, do you judge the person who's ill for being ill? No, you help heal them. You have compassion for them. You have comfort for them. And so I'm really glad that the priest was kind to you, Virgil, and that he added some comfort to you. I had a friend of mine had come to me, a friend from church came to me the day after his father had died, and his father had committed suicide. And he said, Althea, can you tune in? We're trying to make sense of it. We just saw him on Sunday. The whole family was together. He was so happy. Why would he do this? Why would he take his own life? And I kind of said, well, I'll see what I can get. And I said, also, sometimes you need to give the spirit a little time to get acclimated to the other side. But I got an answer right away. And this man felt he was serving his family by taking his life because he had an illness that was taking him down, that was also going to take down his business and drag the whole family into debt and lose their home and have this, in his mind, everything is the opposite of what his job was as the father and the husband and the provider for this family. And he said the best option that his soul could see, his spirit could see, was a graceful, quick exit before things got worse. And that's what he did. And so he wasn't on drugs, and it wasn't an oops. It was this is the best way I can bless my family, is to not be a burden on them. And I am a person of faith, and I know I'll see them again on the other side. And so he did. He took his own life. And that actually gave the family a lot of comfort, knowing that it wasn't he was in so much misery and pain that he took his life, that he did it as an act of honorable sacrifice. So we have to be really careful about judging people, especially people that are suffering and make the choice to leave this physical plane and go back into spirit. And I know it's dreadful and hard for those of us that are left behind. You try to make sense of it. You try to say, well, geez, I just talked to them. I thought things were fine. I thought I could help them. I'm a life coach. I talk to people all the time. And I'm like, it's really unnerving when you hear that something like that happens. But then when you understand the spiritual side of it, you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. And again, on this side of the veil, folks, we are finite minds trying to understand the infinite. So it's really difficult and challenging sometimes to make sense of it. So open your heart and ask, what's the best possible outcome that this could have precipitated? Who did this free up? And as in the girl's case, Virgil, who was freed by her departure? Did she feel she was a burden on people, and so it was an act of love to leave? Was it, you don't know until you can kind of communicate with the spirit of that person. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I understand. But it's so important that we don't judge. There is no judgment in spirit. There's just learning and love and trying to figure things out and getting better and progressing in the best way possible. Oh gosh, it's already almost an hour. Look at that. This time goes flying by each week, guys. I hope that was helpful, Virgil. And thank you for sharing that with us. So one thing I do want to give a shout out to Chris Grizzly and to Mary. Chris is on the mend, coming back from some really serious, scary health stuff. And we have some really great plans for the new year and ways that we're going to be expanding things. Please do like, share, do all the nice social media stuff for my show and this channel, or any of the shows that you are on the channels. But I think that, as we go into this next season, be kind to yourself, do the best you can, just to find that love and light in yourself. Share it with others when you can. Be kind to yourself. Stop putting so much pressure. Figure out what can you do to kind of offload some of the tension and pressure that you put on yourself. Delegate, ask for help, or say, maybe it's not so important that we do that this year. Maybe we don't have to put up every single decoration on the Christmas tree. Maybe we just put up our favorites this year and don't worry about bringing 10 boxes down from the attic, right? Or whatever it is, or up from the basement. Thank you so much for joining me. You give me such a gift by tuning into my show. I appreciate you spreading the word to other people, because part of my soul's purpose is to be a source to bring information through, to hopefully inspire and teach people in whatever ways my experiences can help others to become even better themselves, right? We're all trying to become the best possible version of ourselves. And I think being truthful and honest, and, yeah, I'm a positive person, but y'all have seen me cry. You've seen me frustrated. You've seen me angry. I mean, we go through we're all human. We go through the whole range of the emotions that come with dealing with the challenges that show up in our life. But again, what's the secret to get through those challenges? When you have those bag full of challenges, look for that bag full of blessings. You have them. They are there. They coexist. We sometimes just have to look a little harder to see and recognize those blessings and the opportunities that are there for us. And even if we don't see them at the time, I can guarantee you years later, you'll look back and say, oh, I got it. Now I understand. One thing, Virgil, I just see that you said you don't know, it was totally out of the blue. Occasionally, things that are deemed as suicides were oopses or accidents. It wasn't meant to go to that point. So sometimes that can give some families comfort as well. Like, yeah, they really didn't mean to do that. It was an oops. Yeah, they were experimenting with a drug and they overdosed. It wasn't meant to be an overdose. Or, those kind of situations can also sometimes come up. So hopefully, in this season, you can remember, all of the loved ones that we've lost that are on the other side of the veil. We can remember the memories that we've had, the holidays we've shared with them, the good times we have, but also know we are always connected. Once you have a connection of the heart and you've made that connection with somebody, you will always, always, always have that happen. And even when it seems bleak, there's always light. And, we're coming up to, I think it's the 20th or 21st of December is the shortest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere when we have the most darkness and the least amount of light. But you know what? When you wake up on December 22nd, we get a little bit more light than the day before. And every day going forward until we hit June 21st or so, we get more and more light, more and more light. And we just got to focus on that. Even if it's just incrementally a little bit more, we got to go for it. Forgive those who have let you down, that have hurt you. Forgive yourself for the oopses and the things that you've done that you're like, oh, I could have done that better, right? Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Again, do your best. Your homework is always shine your light, share your love, do your best to have a positive impact and become the best possible version of yourself that you can. Be loving. And y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. I ask God to bless you. And I look forward to talking to you next week. And we'll see what comes up for the topics then. Please spread the word. Love to have people on there. And hold on. Got a late breaking question here. Hold on. Okay. We're in overtime, Kelly, but I'll give it to you anyway. So Kelly asks, hi, hope you're doing great. I've got a huge thing I have to decide. Just wondering if you can see if I should do it. Thank you. Okay, so it's a fun way to end the show, I guess, there, Kelly. There is no shoulds in the spirit world. It's do it if you want to, if it feels right, if it makes sense. If you want guidance, you can use tools like a pendulum for a yes, no. You can ask your gut what you feel. And even just when I read the question, I feel like you already have decided. I feel like you think, yep, I got to do this. And you're looking for people to validate that for you. So Spirit's saying thumbs up, go for it. There's no shoulds. It's do you want to, then do it. If you don't. Spirit is never going to judge you, right? This is your lifetime to experience the things that you want and need the most. And if this is a path that leads you to some other adventure, you can have that call to adventure and go on your hero's journey. Go for it and have fun. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful, blessed week. I hope that helped a little bit there, Kelly. Ask questions a little sooner next time, okay? But I'm glad you joined us. And y'all, again, have a wonderful, blessed week. And we'll see you next Thursday or whenever you tune in. Take care now.
To a YouTube channel near you.